hello. Welcome to the Stand office.
Yes.
It's your first time here. For everyone, maybe do you want to introduce yourself? Tell us a little about yourself, who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Maddie. I am a creative artist, a designer, an explorer, and I'm very happy to be here. Yeah, and actually, how else would I describe myself? Like, yeah, I'd say an optimistic activist.
I love that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, definitely like have to turn off the notifications on my phone, but I find that if you enter like a nice kind of state of bliss, or sorry, not bliss, not yet bliss, but what's the word? Ignorance.
Mm.
If you enter a nice state of ignorance, then it becomes bliss. But I also acknowledge that that's said from a point of privilege. So, yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
We're so happy to have you here, and we're just kind of trying to get a few alumni from the Stand Ideas Collective back to talk about their projects and how they've been, how their projects have been going.
Mm-hmm.
And we're so happy to have you here. You did the Ideas Collective last year.
Yeah.
And when we did it together, that year, I remember you often brought up the importance of creativity and play.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to ask you if you could tell us a bit more about what creativity and play, what role do they play in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, this is a great one. Well, I can speak more to like the brilliance of the Ideas Collective, intermittently kind of at the end when we do the bigger shout out. But like, I adored the program and I loved all my classmates. Yeah, colleagues and classmates. And what I really particularly enjoyed about it was the fact that it really did speak to our inner child. And a lot of, I say my work is centered around bringing out your inner child, because as we grow up, of course, that's dimmed. And actually, that's like my fortune. Your deep inner self is your brightest light. Mm-hmm. So that's
how fitting.
But yeah, we all have such bright, sparky innards, and even the whole thing of like we're all made of stardust. I love that quote, and it's actually true. Like we have the same kind of chemical composition that's found out in the ether. And so yeah, we do have these bright internal lights, and we're all born with that like little spark. And I think it's so crucial that we continue to honor and carry that. And creativity and play is so essential, I think, in being human, and that's actually really what like I'd say separates us from other creatures. Yeah, it's like humans have this incredible ability to tell stories and to create our own myths, and it's all so beautiful. And it's like myths were totally created for a reason. It's they could have been protective, like ways of warning tribes, or they could just be ways of like teaching lessons to children, trying to get us to look for like the more meaningful bits in life. But it's also just a means of connection, and that's all about like creativity is just like the ultimate form, I believe, of bringing people together. And I always kind of think about how like if science is the how of life, then art and creativity is the why. Why should we care? Why are we here? Why do we belong? Like why is the whole philosophical component, and then the how, of course, is like how do we continue to sustain life? How do we troubleshoot if something's gone wrong? Like, and they're both like so yin and yang, and unfortunately, it's a bummer to see how again those precious lights get dimmed, and they're not kind of regarded as yin and yang, but they really are. Like, there's science and art is so necessary and like needs to coexist. But yeah, we place most of our emphasis on the sciences.
Yeah, I hear you. And like when you said a bit about the light being dimmed, I think that's often like a natural process of like growing up, going into adulthood. Like a lot of people lose that creativity and play, and things become a bit more rational and serious, I would say. What do you think happens when people grow up and creativity and play get pushed to the side?
Yeah, that's a like really vital question, I think, and it's also I'm just really interested in that, like why do we have such a significant transformation? Because even if you look at kids in preschool or creche, you know, like everyone's just kind of doodling and like drooling on each other and like playing with toys, and like of course as we get older, you know, we don't have coloring time, we don't have nap time anymore. Which of course sounds kind of like a joke, but no, seriously, because you know, all these opportunities to play games together, like games are even such a go hand in hand with creativity a lot of the time, and games become like this extracurricular thing. Like you can play sports, which even I'd say sports is kind of like the more rational of games, because then you have like board games and like competitions and things, but like again, games are kind of pushed out. And games, like of course games have that kind of component of being very competitive, which is like a double-edged sword, because with creativity, like it's great to have competition as a source of inspiration to like do your best and have fun, but then anyways, like, kind of a separate conversation. But in terms of what happens when we get older, things become way more standardized. But one of the biggest criticisms still is that like there's no real evaluation of creativity, and creativity is a different type of intelligence. I'd say like we really like funnel academia on the whole tends to funnel students more towards like this one form of intelligence while neglecting all of these other kinds. And I think with that happening, like we, especially for people that have that more inherent creative side, we end up dimming the light. But everyone's creative as well, so like everyone suffers from that like pyramid hierarchy.
Thanks, that's so interesting, honestly, to hear about that. And I've noticed it like in my own life so much, like being creative is more so like associated with having fun or leisure time, but it is so integral to the work we do and just to like every moment of life. Talking a bit more about your project, maybe could you tell us, for all the people who've never heard of your project, what it is, what does it entail, and what kind of world are you trying to create?
Yeah, absolutely. So our project has started off as being called Creative Coven. I felt really inspired to make a new kind of creative space where we could join, you know, all different kinds of community members, activists, artists, anyone who like really, like everyone is welcome, you know, that kind of psychologically safe zone where people can get together from totally different backgrounds and co-create. And with more an artistic slant, like especially providing initially for artists, because that's such a gap, like artistic space in Dublin, but then simultaneously feeding and nurturing the rest of the community through creativity.
So if you had to break it down into like one sentence, what is the Creative Coven? Yeah,
so the Creative Coven is a creative, experimental and playful cultural hub where everyone's welcome and encouraged to come together and co-create.
That's amazing. That puts it like in perfect sentence.
Yeah.
And was there like one moment for you where you personally really realized that there was a need for a creative space in Dublin in specific?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'd say it was like, of course, like a kind of cumulative moment, but it was, I'd say, over the course of about a year or so. So met all of these gorgeous, like the most amazing, empathetic, lovely artists in town. And we all kind of ended up going our separate ways shortly after, and we met at this one place, and we realized, moving away from that one, like, where else were we gonna go? Because a lot of us, I guess, had in common that we were either like recent graduates, emerging artists, or had like people that had been part of that community for a while and wanted to continue, like, giving to it. But yeah, that meant that our finances, like, it was cost prohibitive to go, because it's kind of like in Dublin, like, yeah, it's like going from 0 to 100 very, very quickly. So it's like once we stepped outside of like the pond, it was like, oh my god, there's tsunami waves up ahead. So yeah, because honestly, like, the leap was like from quite affordable to like suddenly like hundreds of euros a month, and then there's a housing crisis on top of that, and there's just like physically lack of space, or at least like space made available to the public. So yeah, ultimately a lot of us ended up working from home, or kind of like making space out of like the corners of our rooms, but then also feeling quite isolated from that. So yeah, I'd say it was a lot of us realizing, where do we go from here, and how do we come back together, and where do we come back together? So it was realizing, this doesn't exist. How do, like, rather than waiting for it to come, how do we build it?
Amazing. Yeah. That's so cool. It's so impressive to see, like, you seeing the need and then acting on it, because it's so easy to see needs or lack of things, but to actually create the opportunity for yourself and for other people as well is very inspiring.
Yeah, well, thank you. One of my friends has this gorgeous quote that she always kind of refers to, which is like, anger, for example. Like, anger is a very powerful emotion, and it's easy to feel anger kind of at the state of the world, state of, several global, or many global issues. Like with anything, it's easy to feel angry. But how do we use that anger? Because anger is always an emotion that's telling us something deeper. It's like it's clearly hitting a pain. So how do we convert this energy into an energy that's more useful? So she refers to this quote, which is like, take energy and hold it kind of like a ball of anger. Hold that energy, feel it, and then channel it into productivity. Because it's like, you have the fire, you have the flames, now shoot them in a certain direction.
And that's what you and your team have done amazingly, and you've created something so impactful. And my next question would be, what do you think, more so in general in Ireland, what kind of impact do creative spaces like this have on the community as a whole? Actually super relevant to it's the basic artist income scheme, and that has been such an incredible study, because I only had a couple of thousand participants initially that they were watching over a couple of years, and one of the biggest takeaways was that for every €1 that they invested into this program, into paying artists, €1.39 was returned to the economy. So that alone is insane. That alone, like, if we're only gonna care about money and finances here, that's crazy. Just that. But of course, like, what really matters is how, in the meantime, the artists, like, the symptoms of depression were highly alleviated. Yet, like, the number of cultural kind of institutions and grassroots projects that emerged from that got more secure footing was like really significant. So it is very promising to hear a story like this, and then also that, like, there's such a push, and I think they just opened the next round of applications for it. But yeah, Ireland's the first now in Europe really to go for this, and that is so amazing.
What was the question again?
It was actually perfectly answered. I was asking what kind of impact these creative spaces have on the community.
Yeah, literally. So it's also, I think, creative spaces too, because the arts are kind of, you know, seen as being like way more open and playful and experimental. That means that like the more people coming together, the better. And actually there's been all this research too, and like group collective intelligence too, like the more widespread and diverse a group is, like the more amazing basically the output or the results of their co-creation is. So yeah, we need these spaces that really are for artists but also for everyone else, because creativity is like a fundamental form of intelligence again. Like you can be like a, you know, a maths professor and love tessellations. Actually, I knew someone who was like this. Like she loved tessellations, and tessellations are gorgeous, and like that's and can be found in nature too. Like all of the like the Fibonacci spiral, like sequencing, like, you know. So there's so many areas for overlap, and we have so like everyone has such a unique input and perspective on things. So we need these spaces for people to come together.
I love that. Maybe talking about places where people come together, let's go back to the Ideas Collective. You were a participant last year, so was I. I found it so impactful and honestly enriching, and I wanted to hear your point of view. How did you enjoy the Ideas Collective? What impact did it have on your project, but maybe also on you as a person?
Yeah, yay! This is the preach time. Preach. It was so amazing. Like, because what was it? It was Ideas Collective. I'm thinking Ideas Collective then, the incubator. But yeah, Ideas Collective was like coming out of it every day. You just felt like your entire teacup filled. You felt your inner spark go wee. It had a little like moment, because it was so enriching, like you said. It was so gorgeous, and like it was so cool to work with, again, everyone. I loved like your project you were working on with the saris and recycling, and that fashion component was super sick too, and your story was gorgeous, and like and the storytelling is such a crucial part as well as being, well, it's such a large part of being human. It's what really distinguishes us from other organisms. And it was so amazing to hear so many different stories, opportunities that people saw, gaps that people saw, anger and disappointment, what all these like fast emotions that were then channeled into, you know, response, like active response, and yeah, that kind of, I guess it makes me feel that optimistic activism, again, like pleasure activism, like we need joy, my friend Mel says joy is radical, and I love that. I try to live by that now, like, and that was totally the embodiment of the Ideas Collective, like joy is radical, joy is shared, and joy is co-created, and yeah, the facilitators are like, everyone that works at Stand is just such a gem. Like, I think it's one of the sound, if not the sound, probably the soundest group of gals and creators and minds. So it just, again, going back to like psychologically safe environments, like I think they did an incredible job of curating that, and like just cultivating a nurturing atmosphere where we could hear one another, reflect. We did morning grounding sometimes, like meditation and journaling, and like even the journaling and meditation, like how often do we get that chance to really be introspective in our daily lives or work lives? Like, I mean, of course, like some people do it as their own private practice, but like to actually integrate it into productivity, that was amazing. That was so amazing. And yeah, it just, lovely. So lovely. So lovely.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And I think like making that space to like just write whatever came to mind, that opened up that creative space, because you could literally just sit there and write I don't know what to write, and then that would maybe spark another thought, and it really opened up my mind to thinking differently and maybe exploring different pathways, like neural pathways that I usually don't go down.
That's
so
beautiful.
Yeah.
Exploring new neural pathways. Wow. It sounds like an amusement park.
Yeah. Can be fun, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you think back to yourself like a bit over a year ago before you applied for the Ideas Collective, and what maybe you felt before applying, what would you now tell someone that is thinking about applying to the Ideas Collective this year?
Hell yeah. Or heck yeah. No, it's so incredible. Go, like, I'm trying to think of a less cliche way to say go for it, do it, run, or don't walk, or like just take your time, enjoy it. Yeah, it's so incredible. Where I was like a year ago, I just think on the whole in Dublin there is this gap, not just of creative spaces, but of any third space, place to sit down, relax, and meet other people, like-minded, not like-minded. We need even challenging conversations, and we need places to come and chat together, and with mental health too. I think in some ways, mental health, it's fantastic that we're having certain difficult conversations, and we have more empathy and understanding of what people are going through. There's still totally that lack of conversation, knowing what other people are going through and experiencing. So the Ideas Collective was phenomenal because ultimately each group is kind of focusing on a different issue, and it's incredible to again come together and kind of look at these issues from different perspectives, consider different solutions, and by interacting with one another too, we were able to push our projects to totally new depths and dimensions. The number of people that came in oh, I have an idea, I want to do this, or I don't have an idea, I don't know, it's a space for everyone. And actually I do love that as well about the Ideas Collective too, that it is you can be at any point of your journey, because we all ultimately ended up influencing one another. Our project, initially I was really hoping for it to go down this path of becoming a fully fledged art studio with all different kinds of facilities. And then by the end of it, it was from chatting with loads of other participants, and even having a new partner join me in the process, we realized actually if we want to get to that step of having an artist collective, first we need to go through a different process that addresses more the housing crisis. So we need to create a community land trust, which I didn't know what a community land trust was. I had no idea, and it was through meeting this other group, the group and the housing group, the housing co-op group, and learning more about different trust kind of cooperative structures. So it was aha, it was an aha moment. It was oh my god, we've learned so much from you, and now it's there's totally opportunities to partner, collaborate. So I suppose what I say, do it, completely go for it. It doesn't matter what stage you're in. If you'd like to meet other lovely people who are very passionate, just even come along for the experience. It's so well worth it.
Amazing. I agree with you 100%. And I think one of the greatest parts about the Ideas Collective is the peer learning, learning from each other, hearing other people's ideas, and as you said, having diverse group of people, and then hearing what they have to say and hearing their perspective on your maybe issue that you're trying to solve opens so many new opportunities and different ways to think about solutions for the problem. And I really thought that was probably the biggest takeaway, having other people come in talk about your ideas and then
Yeah.
refining them or making them
Yeah,
different.
completely. And it was also playing games together. Like, again, going back to this play and this, like, yeah, just being able to, I feel like it really pushed our thought processes and experiences to like new dimensions again, because it was like we got to know each other on totally different levels.
Yeah.
And also the speakers that they got in for the Ideas Collective were, I felt like beyond inspired. Actually, like, I'm working on several projects now where I'm constantly referring back to that lineup of speakers that we had. And yeah, it's just because Ireland is very small, Dublin's quite small, and it's amazing to know that all these incredible projects are going on around us. But like, I would have never known otherwise.
Yeah.
Love. So love Stan. Yeah.
Thanks so much. The last question maybe that we can close off with is, for anyone that feels like disconnected from creativity or feels like they've lost that sense of play in their lives, do you have any inspiration for them and how maybe they could connect with that part of themselves again?
Yes, that is a really gorgeous question and so relevant, I think. It makes me think of one of the most powerful things actually I ever was taught in therapy, which was going back to like neuro pathways and neuroplasticity, like especially when we're in a rut or we have one main way of doing things, it's really important that we break habit or break out of the monotony. So she recommended at the time just to like retrain my brain with little simple activities. So maybe say, rather than like tying my shoes from the right side to the left, I start by going from the left to the right. Or like, if I like eat PB&J every day, maybe just switch the peanut butter to like Nutella or something. Like all these little things, because eventually the little things will accumulate, and I think we'll develop a sense of like agency and like, okay, I never thought like this teeny little thing would have this kind of butterfly effect into this other part of my life. And as someone who, like, I get very overwhelmed quite easily, I just find sometimes it's like maybe in the morning, like I'll make my bed and I'll be like, okay, that was one thing I did, and now because of that, now I'm feeling motivated to do this next bit, and then this next, it always has this kind of domino effect. So I think if someone's feeling a little bit disconnected or isolated or like, they're not in touch with it, I'd say to just, try to implement that like in creative ways. So say like, just start doing things that you wouldn't normally do. So like super simple actions that are kind of retraining you to go about things in a different way. It's so, I'd say creativity is so process based, and creativity inherently is meaningful. It's like creativity is all about like deviating from the norm, and like how do you take kind of random input and make something kind of interesting from it. So like, if you're scribbling around and you get up and you look at that scribbled piece of paper and you're like, this doesn't look like anything, that's fine. It doesn't need to. It doesn't need to. But like by doing, again, all these little things, you're breaking the matrix. You're glitching the matrix. And I think free will, like reminding ourselves that we have free will, is so important. It's so important, because it's really easy to like succumb to the weight of a lot of convention, like standards and expectations. It's really easy to be funneled to this, like the SATs wanting you to focus only on 2 subjects, like but yeah, it's like, and even somatic dance, like there's so much research, like even literally just like shaking your body and doing these simple things. Like how often do we, or what was it, like tapping or something? Have you heard of this?
Yeah.
Like apparently even doing this like completely will soothe, not completely, but it will do a good job of like calming your nervous system. And it's like these very, very simple activities that like all this emerging research is coming out, and it's like, it is, I just find it really interesting and cool to know, that like all these little things could snowball. They could become seed bombs that hit derelict properties and then become used soon after, you know? So yeah, that's what my advice would be.
Perfect. I think that's a perfect way to wrap up the little chat we had, and just thank you so much for being here and talking about what really moves your heart and your life. It's so inspiring to see, and like I've known you for a little bit now, and you really live what you speak. Like you are so joyful, you are so creative and playful, and I think just by like seeing you do it, you inspire other people to maybe dive into that a little bit as well. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jemima. You're amazing too. We're awesome.
The Ideas Collective is a free summer boot camp for students and recent graduates with an idea for social change. Find out more at stand.ie.